they did some awards to they call it Prime the Pump to local restaurants. And there was a long list of local restaurants getting thousands of dollars. Many restaurants of color, owners of color, getting the money they need to survive. And, you know, I work with a lot of restaurant and bar owners on different things. And so, you know, we're trying to help them out. And I know the bill that just went to the governor's desk that's allowing, and I think he signed it, allowing alcohol to be part of takeout. And some people are like, why is that? But if you understand the restaurant industry, you realize that a lot of these folks don't make much money on their food.
You don't. It's 7 to 11% margin on average. 7 to 11% margin on average. Before you get your steak back, that's undercooked.
Yeah, and so they make money on the bar, and so they have to get rid of this inventory, right? Like beer can't stay around forever. So, you know, I appreciate that. We haven't done much takeout just because, you know, we have Esme, and we're not. Every time you get food delivered or you're going to take out, it's hard to figure this thing out. It's scary.
Yeah.
Like the dude who's making your pizza sneezes on your pizza. What's that mean? You know what I mean? And maybe, you know, it can stay alive. It can stay contagious or whatever you want to say for so many hours, or it's hot. The pizza's hot enough to kill it. I just don't even want to take any of that as risks, right? Like, because it's a tough thing to even try to figure out, man.
You know, and I do have to give props to Mayor Walsh. Today they announced a $2 million fund, I believe, for businesses and for rental assistance, and then $1 million in help for businesses. And so
speak on that, Tito, because you're in a district that, you know, what's the percentage when you were a city councilor of renters, you'd say?
So let's just keep it 100. So Roxbury, where I live, 81% of people are renters. And so
here's the discussion, and I'm not a big housing guy, but I know enough to be dangerous. A lot of those people are renting from people who also have to pay bills.
Yes.
And so if I'm a landlord on the side and I have the privilege or I'm blessed enough to own a couple homes, that maybe I inherited a home in Roxbury. Like you own that home in Roxbury that you're in right now.
Yep, I do.
And if you happen to buy another home and you start to rent that home out, let's just say you still have mortgage payments on that, right? Before you inherited it, somebody took a second mortgage out on it. Those mortgage payments still have to be made, right? And so how do you balance the real need for sometimes mid-income to lower income people who are paying rent, who can't afford to pay their rent, with the landlord who has to pay his or her mortgage?
Yeah. So one of the things that is happening, and I've been on multiple calls about this, many lenders are essentially giving people 90 days. And, you know, mind you, they're going to, you know, they'll pay the interest on those payments later on, but they'll just basically put that in the back end and they'll pay a little bit more.
All right. So they'll put the 3 months on the back end.
Yep.
They'll
so during that time,
3 months out. Go ahead.
You should. So Ryan, who owns 3 houses, if that lender actually gave you that safe passage,
you should be
the right thing to do is to do the same to the folks who are renting, right? So that's
if they want to pay the rent and can pay the rent, let them, but don't be forcing them to pay the rent.
Right. So that's a piece that, you know, so the interesting part about this is that in this crisis situation, the opportunity is to do the right thing.
Correct.
Right. To begin to say, hey, because, you know, a lot of the stuff that you and I have advocated for. So I've been advocating. So in Boston, 50% of people make $35,000 or less. These issues around evictions and foreclosures, excuse me, are things that come up on a regular basis. But you now have the opportunity in this crisis to actually legislate and do the right thing, not only the expedient thing that will get you reelected, that the next time, and to have this individual group of people like me enough to want to stroke a check or any of that other stuff. And I also do have to, you see courage out there. Like, I want to give Mayor Walsh props. He shut down construction sites while the state and the governor were allowing construction to continue. I really, that's a big deal.
Yeah, and I have a buddy in construction. He said there is zero possibility to socially distance when you're building some shit. No,
bro. If you and I are carrying a piece of glass, right? You can't, like, gravity does not allow us to say, hey, you know what? We're just going to be, no, somebody's foot's going to get cut off. Yep. Or we're going to drop a piece of glass down 15 stories and we're going to severely hurt
And the other piece on construction is it's when a building is built, it's not one crew, right? And so you have electricians, you have laborers, you have people doing plumbing. And so, I might say, hey, my crew's good. Nobody has COVID, and I sent some guy home who was exposed to it. That doesn't mean that the crew that came in before you was like that either. And I know the building trades, the unions are striking on construction sites that aren't emergency in their situation.
Yeah, and so that's, I give props. I also think there's an opportunity in Boston and other cities when we look at, and one of the issues that we have in Boston is we have about $660 million worth of contracting that goes out on an annual basis. Our fiscal year is about to end. In Boston, only 0.5% of that goes to minority contractors and women.
Okay.
Out of 660 million.
Yeah.
So the other component here is, and I've been pushing for this. Ayanna Pressley's been, Congresswoman has been pushing for this piece around food, right? One of the other pieces that we've been pushing for was local sourcing of our school food. Why does that matter? That matters in a situation like this because we typically buy the biggest amount of food for the cheapest, and it's freaking frozen food from Pennsylvania that can bring it up in. Exactly. So the piece here is, had the food been locally sourced, we then, from a budgetary perspective and just from an operational perspective, we could be using local restaurants and local buying to actually, and local sourcing to actually put food into the bellies of our children, right? So I think breaking up some of these large, in particular, school food contracts, localizing them with local organizations would have been, and it's a better way to use money. If you would have healthier, basically, hopefully farm to table, where people could actually do some urban agriculture and alike, and make that connection to put, we could basically work at the farm and our kids literally could be eating the food. So I think we have an opportunity to begin to think about procurement and governing in a different fashion in this crisis situation.
And so you think that, and we'll wrap it up because I think we're getting close to an hour and we want people actually to sit there and listen to us, but they ain't got much better to do, right? I mean, let's do some fun. Let's do some fun stuff, man. What television shows have you watched or movies have you watched since?
Woo!
I mean, the Tiger King. Everybody's talking about Tiger King. Did you see Tiger King?
I saw Tiger King, which shows that fantasy don't have anything on reality, brother. That made and I did see an article on the Root that said we are writing an article to note that we will not be protesting that there's no black people in the Tiger King.
No, because we're happy there's no black people in the Tiger King.
Thank you so much. That works out.
I will say though, the biggest takeaway is, and I'm kind of a sap on this. And I'll use a human word. Imprisoning animals is just insane, and having an animal like a tiger or like a lion that is not native to Oklahoma in these cages for people to see them is crazy. And so like I'm not a zoo guy, I'm not an aquarium guy, and you know, I'm sitting here, I got a dog. But
who's about the size of a tiger. But
my dog's dope. But so like I rescued Fife, you know, believe it or not, even though he's like a designer dog. And I didn't rescue him. I hate the term rescue. I adopted him, right?
Yeah,
like if you say rescue, it seems like I went in there and pulled the dog out of a burning building.
Yeah.
I adopted him. He was a dog that wasn't gonna find a home unless I adopted him.
Excuse me.
But like so with all the crazy stuff that happens in Tiger King, which we don't want to give it away for people, I think the biggest takeaway is that big cats like that shouldn't even be in America.
They shouldn't, and they shouldn't be treated in the manner that they've been treated. I just finished Ozark last night.
Yeah. So we didn't start the third season yet. We didn't start.
I'm not even gonna. I'm just gonna say, wow.
Ozark's good. See, this is the other thing I think though is that I think it's an opportunity for people, and I'm a big TV guy. Me and you don't talk much TV because we usually just get stuck on politics or other things.
Yeah, that's true.
Or music. There was a lot of really good television that happened in the last, I would say 20 years.
Yeah.
That